Hello, Representative Cleavorn. Representative Cleavorn moves that House File 1830 be placed on the general register. And the only amendment we have to adopt is the A5 amendment. So we'll go ahead and just do that now, and then you can describe the bill. So the A5 amendment is a grant management amendment, and Representative Cleavorn moves the A5 amendment. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the A5 amendment, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say no. The motion prevails and the A5 amendment is adopted. So to your bill, as amended, Representative Cleavorn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, today before us, we have a bill that reflects the important work of the state and local governments and our responsibility to the people of Minnesota. This is a very good bill. It reflects a balanced approach to meeting the needs of our government to serve the people of Minnesota. The jurisdiction of this bill is broad. It pertains to the constitutional officers, the legislature, over 30 agencies, and then what I call the Big Four: Management and Budget, Minnesota IT, the Department of Revenue, and the Department of Administration. These entities are the foundation on which good and responsible self-governance is built. This bill restores part of the capacity of our state government to carry out the work of governance and to manage with the appropriate staffing levels. And with that, I would just like to walk through some of the provisions of the bill. In the legislature, there are important pieces that have been added in addition to the funding of the legislature itself. There is a legislative task force on aging. We are adding translation services, and there is an advisory task force on infrastructure. Moving on to the Office of the Governor, there is an addition of the Office of Tribal Relations, which is an important office to help address the disparities between the Native and non-Native peoples of Minnesota. At the State Office of the Auditor, there are important provisions that will allow for technology staffing, a township specialist, grants to help our townships with the accounting systems that they need to use in being able to report on time. There's also a provision for regulatory compliance and an oversight dashboard, which will help our townships do the work that they need to do and have a one-stop place to go. There are also electronic auditing tools, which are provided for in that budget. In the Office of the Attorney General, there is a significant investment on staffing and creation of new resources to deal with antitrust efforts. And also this funding will go hand in hand with the enhanced criminal prosecution funding that we brought forward earlier this year. For the Secretary of State, this bill provides additional funding for the Safe at Home program, which provides secure and confidential mailing addresses for targets of domestic abuse and other forms of violence. There is also a provision which will add greater physical security to the Secretary of State's office, and additional funding, I believe, is also provided for our business registration part. Minnesota IT has a substantial investment in this bill, and Minnesota IT is receiving the significant funding to upgrade the growing role of integrating our state agencies and the increasing demands of cybersecurity. The bill also provides local cybersecurity grants, enterprise-wide cloud transition, and more accessible digital technology across our state systems. The Department of Administration, which supports a wide variety of state agencies and nonprofits, this bill has a significant focus on how grants management and grants oversight will be provided for going forward. And I'm very excited about those initiatives. It also has a bill in here for feasibility study of creating a statewide grants management system so that there's a one system for us to be able to see across all of the agencies what is happening. There are additional appropriations for public television, for AMPERS funding, and for our state archaeologist and demographer. In management and budget, this is the central service agency. It's serving the governor, the legislature, and 100 state government entities with a workforce of over 56,000 employees and serving the public. This will help modernize state government and our state workforce, including staffing, auditing, accountability, and there's a wonderful provision in here that helps us retain our employees with disabilities. And I thank Representative Breyer for bringing that bill forward. Moving on to the Department of Revenue, there are just maintenance of current programs that are provided, but these extra resources will help them continue to provide the excellent service that they do statewide. And there, as I mentioned earlier, there are cybersecurity grant programs. Representative Newton's bill for upgrades to the roof for the Minnesota Amateur Sports Commission complex is in here. There is Representative Freiberg's bill for flag redesign commission, and young people are really excited about that, to have a flag and a seal that supports our state as it is today. I also would like to highlight the market bucks, which is now called healthy eating here at home, provision, which is in the bill with a significant increase. Representative Jordan's bill, which would provide a hazard assessment for the St. Anthony Falls, and that's a really important project for the safety of our state. In here, there's also a provision which would provide a statutory appropriation for the legislature. Let's see, I'm trying to think, I don't want to repeat myself. Oh, I would also like to highlight Representative Freiberg's bill on land survey monuments. This is really important when it comes to property rights in our state. There also, the Private Cemeteries Act has been updated, which amends the laws of how we identify, treat, and handle burial sites and cemeteries in our states, and what makes it clear what may not be disturbed. Let's see. There is an update for the CAP board for the 30-year-old plan for the Capital Area Design Framework, and the bill goes on and on. So I will leave it at that, and I will be happy to answer your questions. It's really a good bill for moving state government forward and helping state government serve the people of Minnesota.
Thank you, Representative Cleavorn. Discussion to the bill. Representative Nash.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I serve as the Republican lead on this committee, and I do thank Chair Cleavorn for a lot of the work that we got done together. I will say that the investment in Minute is an appropriate one, that we have come a long way since I got here 9 years ago when Minute was the punchline to a bad joke. And it's come a long way, and we do need to make investments in our state's infrastructure. But I will point out that there are tremendous increases over the base. Some of the highlights are the governor's office has 154% over last year's base, Attorney General 45%, MMB 64%. And I think that this is emblematic of a lot of the things that we've been seeing this session, that we are spending a lot of money that would be best served to be back in people's pockets. But you've heard me say this quote before, and I guarantee you'll get to hear it again, but the bureaucracy is expanding to meet the needs of the expanding bureaucracy. It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. But that's exactly what's happening here, is that the bureaucracy is expanding to meet the needs of the bureaucracy. The chair and I have had good moments together, and we've had moments of contention. We'll save the latter for the floor, but not here in committee. There's just a lot of growth here that I don't think is particularly warranted. And I just think that putting this much money into the bill for organizations that, in my estimation, also need massive reform before they get any more money, we could have done that better. But I will also say that I appreciate the chair and some of the things that she has had me or allowed me to put into the bill. There are some minor tweaks to minute language that will provide some oversight for cloud computing. But overall, this is a very spendy bill. And I once again, I can't support it, Madam Chair, but it does have some things in there that I would support if it wasn't laden with other things in other places. So I would encourage a no vote on this, but maybe we can continue to work together and have some amazing DEs on the floor for some cuts in spending. But thank you.
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to the bill's author, Representative Cleavorn, I echo what Representative Nash said about Minute. You know, we have some very archaic systems within the government, and that is one thing I'm not opposed to improving upon. But with all the increases in these different budget line items, I'm wondering how many new FTEs are being created with this new budget that you're proposing?
Representative Cleavorn.
Madam Chair, there are approximately 158.
150.
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So 158 new employees. And do you, Madam Chair, thank you. Representative Cleavorn, do you have a breakdown of somewhere, a document that you can provide the committee and the full body actually on where those 158 new employees will be according to the budget items?
Representative Cleavorn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have gone through this. I'll just quickly give you an overview. So MMB will have approximately 50. The Attorney General will have approximately 32, and that's almost evenly split between legal, non-legal, and always keep in mind that there are IT folks in all of these numbers. The Auditor will have 11. Revenue will have 0. The Secretary of State will have 7. Minute will have 13. And Administration, oh, I just have their total number, sorry. I don't have their individual one written down. What I would like to say to you, though, is that when you look at the level of FTEs that are included, the 158 that I mentioned, this still does not get us where we would have been from about 2003. We've had 20 years of disinvestment and cuts. So even though it seems like a lot of employees to you at this moment, we are still far behind the staffing levels that we would have had at some time ago. So thank you.
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for being prepared for committee and having those answers. I appreciate that. If you could get back on the admin number eventually,
to.
that'd be great. Representative Cleavorn. I do have a question. The governor's office is getting a 154% increase. Could you kind of give me an explanation for that?
Representative Cleavorn.
Thank you, and it's a really great question because statistics can often be deceiving. And so what is happening is they're going to a direct appropriation, which is much more transparent for the public to be able to see what it actually costs to run the governor's office, as opposed to billing agencies for the work that they do. So in addition to seeing that increase there, you will also see that there is a provision for cuts for the agencies so that those costs are actually offset.
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so the admin number that you're going to provide for us, with a 154% increase, is the governor's office going to be adding FTEs then? And would that fall under the admin FTE number?
Representative Cleavorn.
Thank you very much. Let me just pull that back up, and I apologize, I didn't give that to you earlier. So I believe that the governor's office has a net increase of 10. I believe it's a net increase of 10. And I can get you those exact numbers.
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Cleavorn.
Yes, it is 10. I found it. It is 10.
Okay, thank you. And so with all the new IT that we're going to be getting, won't there be some efficiencies that will be realized, and therefore you'd actually need fewer employees? Would that be something that would be a logical conclusion to draw?
Representative Cleavorn.
Thank you. And Representative Scott, I think that is something that we will be looking forward to. And it's part of what Lead Nash was talking about earlier and asking for some additional reporting. He's looking to see where efficiencies will be created and how they'll be created. And in some of the lines that are listed for full-time employees, I couldn't tell you, I'll have to go back to my book to look, but there is a decrease in the number of employees. So it starts off with a higher number and then drops to a lower number.
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And final question. Representative Cleavorn, so in light of what you just explained to me, so when this bill reaches the floor, would that reporting mechanism, could that be something in the form of an amendment that would be acceptable to you so that we can look at these efficiencies once the new IT systems or the new IT systems are in place? Is that something that you would be agreeable to if an amendment was offered to put that kind of requirement in the bill? Thank you.
Representative Cleavorn.
Have you been speaking to my lead Nash on this one? No. Lead Nash is currently working with Minute to see what kind of appropriate reporting would be there and available. And always, the devil is in the details. I will not commit to supporting any amendment until I actually see the final words.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Further discussion to the bill. Lead Garofalo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Representative Cleavorn, I'm focusing on the spreadsheets. On the first 3 pages we have, which line item contains the governor's new lake home? Which item is that on here?
Representative Cleavorn.
Thank you. I'm really disappointed, Lead Garofalo, that you didn't watch the state government committee meeting when we said, I don't discuss that issue. And it's no longer a lake home. I think the Republican donor is keeping their home.
Representative Garofalo.
The Republican donor is what?
It's the home is
Cleavorn.
as I understand it from reading the Star Tribune, I've had no conversations with the governor or with admin about it. I understand that the original home that was located was the home for rent of a large Republican donor, but that's just what I read in the Star Tribune. I have no idea.
Representative Garofalo.
You mean Mike McFadden, the candidate for Senate?
I have no idea whose home it was.
Representative Garofalo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Cleavorn. So there was a budget item in there for they had signed an agreement to lease that home on the lake at Sunfish Lake for.
It's my understanding.
Representative Cleavorn.
Thank you. It's my understanding that that home is no longer the home that will be leased. It's my understanding from the Star Tribune that there's another home that will be leased, or for some news outlet.
Representative Garofalo.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Cleavorn. My home in Farmington's available for the governor if he wants to if he wants to rent it out for $18,000 a month, $17,000. So we can do that. If you just want to run that up the food chain, maybe that's an option. So on page 3 of the spreadsheet here,
Would you please tell me which spreadsheet you're looking at? There are 3.
the House, State, and Local Government Policy and Finance General Fund Summary Direct and Open Appropriation Spreadsheet. So this is the one. There's pages 1 through 3 of 26.
Yes. Okay.
And so we have a halfway over to the side there, we have dollars from base, percentage from base.
Yes.
And when we go to page 3, line 118, we see a 41% increase in net general fund spending for this area. In your comments, you described your bill as balanced. My question is, in light of a 41% increase, when you say balanced against what?
Representative Cleavorn.
Thank you very much. And Lead Garofalo, I would also like you to look at line 111. So in the first year, you will see that it's very much front-loaded, and that has a lot to do with the infrastructure investments in IT across all of our systems. So you'll see that base number is much larger at 41%. But if you go to the second and the base of the 200 million, you'll see that it's only an 18% increase. So yes, there is a lot of upfront spending in this bill, one-time spending.
Representative Garofalo.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. And just to be clear, we're looking at, as we're on line 118, we see our February base is $1.1 billion. And as we scroll over to the both the governor's recommendation and then the recommendations in House File 1830, even if we subtract the min IT expenses, we're seeing a pretty robust expansion in government spending. And so my question is, you described your bill as being balanced.
Yes.
And I just wanted to know what it's balanced against. We see more spending. We see additional government growth. What is that balanced against? What are the trade-offs that show fiscal restraint in this committee?
Representative Cleavorn.
Thank you, Lead Garofalo. It's balanced against the needs of Minnesotans. Minnesotans deserve to have their data protected no matter which agency that they're in. We have systems, payroll systems, HR systems. All of our IT is being held together with bubblegum, twine, paperclip. And it really needs the investments that you see in this bill. The state demographer needs be able to collect data quickly. When we're talking about making sure that we have monuments that will protect people's property rights, it is balanced against the needs that Minnesota citizens have and the services that they expect from their government. And it is balanced against making sure that the applications that they use to access government are simple and easy to use, whether they're using their phone, their iPad, or a computer. The systems that we currently have, you know, it might take people an hour to get through an application to apply for services, where we have seen when we are able to meet users where they are with appropriate IT interface, then they can do that work in 15 minutes, 25 minutes, and they're done. So when you balance it against the needs and time of our citizens, I think it's a great bill.
Representative Garofalo.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Representative Cleaborn, you made the case for why the bill is big. I'm asking what's on the other side of the equation. What's the balance that shows restraint?
Representative Cleaborn.
Well, restraint is always in the eye of the beholder. Whenever we can save a Minnesotan time, that is something that is a good thing. So the savings may not be in dollars. The savings may be in their time, effort, and satisfaction with the interface with government.
Representative Garofalo.
Thank you. Last question. Representative Cleaborn, does this meet the needs of the State Government Finance Committee, or will we require additional needs spending in the future?
Representative Cleaborn.
Are you offering to open your wallet?
No, Madam Chair, I'm not. Representative Cleaborn, I'm serious. If you look at your bill, you're projecting that you're going to have a state government finance bill that goes from 1.5 billion down to 1.3 billion.
Yes.
I don't believe that. So are there unmet needs out there after the passage of this bill that you see need to be addressed?
Representative Cleaborn.
As with all of the work that I do at the legislature, I let the community drive that work. If there are needs that the public comes to us that says need to be addressed, then I think we should listen to that conversation and address those needs as they're brought forward.
Representative Garofalo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as we know from from the data of our economic forecast, we have GDP growth projected to be around 2%. Minnesota's population is flatlined, and we're seeing a 41% increase in state government finance spending. This is the definition of unsustainability. And it's not an accident. It's being done by design. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Further discussion. Representative Petersburg.
Thank you, and I just would reiterate some words that we use, and I apologize for talking after Representative Garofalo, but I heard the Chair Cleaborn talk about disinvestment over the last 20 years. And I don't think that we ought to consider disinvestment when we have a lessening of staff or even plateauing of staff or reduction in cost. All of us would like to increase our standard of living, and we do that through increased productivity, meaning we do more with less. And I don't think that should mean that there's disinvesting and that we're actually providing less service to the public just because, for heaven's sake, government can do it cheaper. That's not the point. The point is that we oftentimes should be expecting, as citizens, should be expecting the government should become more and more efficient with providing the services to us, not just saying, well, we're going to throw more money at it because that's easiest. This is a time for us to actually challenge ourselves, and I don't think we ought to be using the word disinvestment just because we have decided that we could do it cheaper or better with less people. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, I'll go to Representative Cleaborn for the final word on her bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. And I would like to begin with a thank you. I would like to thank all of our excellent staff who've helped put this bill together, and the state employees who have provided the information and input for this bill in their hard work. And I would also like to thank Lead Nash. He and I have not always agreed on everything, but we have had a good working relationship. So I would say thank you to him. And with that, members, it's a great bill. It goes a long way to helping bring our systems back to where they need to be. And I ask for your yes vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Cleavorn. So we'll do a series of motions now to merge the state government and elections budget bills. So Representative Freiberg, would you move that the language contained in House File 1723 as amended be incorporated into the state government and elections budget bill as separate articles?
So moved.
Any discussion to the motion before us? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
No.
The motion is adopted. Representative Cleavorn, would you move that the language in House File 1830 as amended be incorporated into the state government and elections budget bill as separate articles?
So moved.
Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say no.
No.
So now we have the two bills, the motion prevails and we have the two bills merged. So Representative Cleavorn renews her motion that House File 1830 as amended be placed on the general register and that nonpartisan staff be directed to make technical changes as necessary. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say no. No. The motion prevails. Thank you, Representative Cleavorn.